Hi, everyone. This is Scarlett Johnson with Unleashed, presented by Moms for Liberty. And today I'm joined by my friend Alvin with Courage is a Habit. Alvin, we've known each other for a long time now.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. It's good to be on here. Thanks for having me. And obviously, always looking forward to sharing what we've got with the new state and everything.
Yes. And so Courage is a Habit is an amazing organization that provides actionable tools and strategies for parents to defend their children from indoctrination in K through 12 education. And when these are really good tools, lots of organizations will talk about what's happening. We'll go to policy summits and you hear what's happening, but then the big question for parents and community members is, well, what do I do next?
Right.
And you provide like almost step-by-step guidance, and you give them, here's a form, here's a sample, like really good and actionable materials. So I really appreciate that. And that's why I invited you to come to Wisconsin tomorrow for a legislative day. So that's going to be awesome.
It is. Anytime I get to speak in front of legislation and the lawmakers don't know. They don't know what's happening in K through 12. They have a very superficial understanding, even the ones that are on our side, even the ones that are aggressive, even though they're like, no, we shouldn't be indoctrinating kids. It should be about academics. They say those things and it sounds, obviously it's for the parent movement like ours and like yours, it sounds good. But if you go a little bit, one more layer deeper and go, okay, so what do you think's bringing in it? They'll say things like it's the teachers unions, which is not untrue, but they don't actually know in the system how it works. And so anytime I get a chance to talk to them, it's always an honor for me, for Courage is a Habit, and to share our deep research. And so hopefully we actually point them in the right direction. So we point their bills and laws in the right direction, because a lot of times these bills they think they're hitting the mark, but they're not. And then it kind of gives, and this, probably better than most. It gives parents a false sense of a false sense of security and a false sense of, oh, we won. And I'm sure Moms for Liberty saw a lot of that after Trump won. You probably saw this got people start to kind of pull back and say, yay, woke is dead. And things like that doesn't help our mission at all.
Nope, it doesn't. And these lawmakers, listen, they have to be jack of all trades, master of none. They're dealing with all sorts of legislation, from the budget to the environment to schools to regulation. So there's so much coming at them that there's only so much time they can devote. And that's where they rely on us. They rely on us to alert them to this is happening. And they actually really appreciate when we send them information, and when we provide organizations like yours, that you can provide them a lot of information and explainers, and then kind of take all of that information that they can give to their assistants and the people who work in their office, and then distill it down into here's a one pager. And you do that. So here's all the information. Here's a 1 or 2 pager that kind of helps the legislator to get those points across.
Yeah. The legislators, exactly what you said, they're dealing with so much, and they get so much information. Some of it is outright wrong. Obviously, some of it is correct. And it's the same thing with parents. The audience that you and I deal with generally have school-age children. Obviously, if you're in high school, it's a little bit different. But our audience primarily has school-age children. As any parent knows, when you have school-age children, that's a very busy time in your life. Yep. It's time when you're running a household, you're raising children, you're trying to build your career. And so we always have that in mind, that parents don't have time to read 12-page white papers at a 10-point font. There's no way, because we always remember that it's not just about schools. It's about, I got to return my voicemail from my mother. I'm on hold with a plumber. I got to get a refund from this company that overcharged me. There's so many things in that time in your life that if we don't, and not only that, you've got schools lying to parents, gaslighting them. It's not happening. We don't do it like that. And so if we don't cut through all that noise and cut through their life and go, look, this is going to be real fast, but it's going to help so much. And not only should you do it, but give it to 5 other parents. We don't tell them, we don't put it on parents to say, if we only had 500 parents do it. That's too big of a number for an average person. Can you do 5? Can you do 3? And is that forward motion that we're looking for. And that's what our enemies do so great.
Yes.
Square. Who cares? Black square. People put up black squares, didn't even know what that meant because it was a low bar of entry. Who can't write hashtag trans rights or human rights? It's about creating forward motion, but our side is terrible at that.
Yes.
We always think these big things like we have to take down Soros. What are you talking about? You know, Obama did this. What are you going to do with that? And so you have to understand that the people that we're talking to, that's the reality of life. And if we don't get them into forward motion, you're going to get 50,000 views on Facebook and 500 comments, and you get 2 people show up on school boards.
Yep.
That's not going to get it done.
Yes.
And one of the things that we always say at Courage is a Habit internally, you can't just create outrage without outlets.
That's a good point.
If you only create outrage with no outlet, you actually end up creating hopelessness, which is exactly what we don't want parents to feel, because this is not fake outrage. This is actually happening to your children in all 50 states. And certainly in Wisconsin, I'm looking forward to, speaking to all of you guys and showing you that, hey, it is deeply embedded into your, Department of Education. And so when we create this outrage, it's good, but you need to give them an outlet.
That's good. That's a really good point. Outrage without outlets leads to hopelessness. And, then you're just like, what can I do? And so looking at it as small wins, like an army, one hill at a time, you win one small battle and then you keep going. And sometimes there's a retreat. Sometimes I'm watching this documentary on the Revolutionary War, which is fascinating because I think everyone should watch it. It's the PBS documentary. It's really good. But I didn't even realize, and I was political science history major, all of the different the stressors that George Washington, the Continental Army was under. They'd win, then they get pushed back. But just kind of keeping that momentum going and finding, okay, what's the next strategy? How are we going to overcome this? And just staying in this and staying in the fight. So we were talking ahead of time because something that's dominating our social media is a small rural town in Wisconsin, New Richmond, Wisconsin. It borders Minnesota. A lot of refugees from Minnesota have moved there. And so it's a conservative area. Trump won this county and they showed up last year in a big way. Moms for Liberty's had tremendous growth in this area. Right. And they stopped the implementation of the Biden Title IX rewrite, which was, if people don't remember, 1,500 pages of just woke garbage. Yeah. And they stopped it. They came out, standing room only, several school board meetings, special meetings. And so the parents felt victorious. They felt like they won. There was no policy, no gender nonconforming policy. There isn't a non-discrimination policy that I can find that uses gender identity, gender nonconforming, how we deal with so-called transgender kids in bathrooms. But I was just made aware, as were many parents last week, that there is a biological male who, since November at least, using the girls' bathroom. And the girls at first did not tell their parents. And finally, this open secret came out. And now parents are outraged because they feel lied to and they just can't believe it's happening to them. And so what are your thoughts about this situation?
And now you said it was like a rural area, right? Yeah, like a
rural farm. A lot of the family members there, they have working farms. I mean, there's one professor of biology, but also has this hundreds of acres, cows, chickens. It is a more rural area, but they're close to they're very close to Hudson, some big cities that are right next to the Minneapolis border.
Oftentimes those districts get shocked, and we see it in all states. So it's certainly not unique to Wisconsin. Even to this day, we hear it won't happen here. And every time I hear that, my first thought is, then it for sure will happen to you, because you can't fight a fight you don't know it's coming. You can't dodge a punch and counter a punch you don't know it's coming. I don't care how good of a fighter you are. I don't care how tough you are. Anybody can knock you out if you don't see it coming. And that's what these cities go, no, we're red county, or we're very pro-America, or we teach our kids well. If you don't understand how the K through 12 works, then you're going to get that knockout punch. And that's what happened to this county here. Now, I haven't looked into it because I only saw the post, like, I think yesterday, like afternoon or last night, from Moms for Liberty. So I'll look into it a little bit before I get there, but I suspect, because I have looked into Wisconsin, obviously in head of preparation, to talk to the legislator and Will and all them. It's probably coming through the mental health, because your Department of Education follows the ASCA, which is the American School Counselor Association. And so for quick context, the American School Counselor Association is the organization that trains the majority of your school counselors and writes the mental health policies and the suicide policies for all K through 12. And the Wisconsin Department of Education follows them to the T. And so I don't want to get too off track here. So for those who want more information, just go to courageisahabit.org, courageisahabit.org, and click on school counselors. And the very first link will be the report that we released that will explain to you exactly why the school counselors are the biggest purveyors of the transgender cult. So back to this school district. So likely this child went to a school counselor and said, I feel like a girl, and da-da-da. And because the school counselor is following ASCA guidelines and they're trained by ASCA, they're immediately going to think, if I don't encourage him to use the girls' bathroom, he's going to kill himself. That's just how they're trained. And so remember, the school counselors aren't looking to follow laws. They're not looking at, the community came out, a few months ago last year, and the school board agreed that we're going to follow Title IX. They don't think of it like that. They're trained to be missionaries. The school counselors are trained to be missionaries. So they cannot wait. They can, especially in the rural area. And by the way, speaking of the rural areas, ASCA spends a lot of time, because we infiltrate them a lot. And, my co-founder, Jennifer McWilliams, she infiltrates them so much. And we see them always talk about how to get into the rural area. We're having trouble getting in. We're making some headway. How do we get in? How do we talk to them? So when you have a school counselor in a rural area, they cannot wait to get a trans student. That is like their homecoming. That is like their Super Bowl, because they've been trained to go, this is your chance to show what an ally you are, and you're saving his life. That is what they hear. But because in the rural area, you've got families that obviously are not fucked up. And so what happens is they don't get a lot of chance. Like if you're in a city like Indianapolis or San Francisco or something like that, or, Colorado, to really exercise that missionary training. So again, I haven't looked into this particular school, but if I had to bet, I would say it's something like that.
That's interesting. What do you think usually? So in the school board meeting that I watched several times, there was the board president that was vocal, but there was the Title IX coordinator from the back of the room kept talking like, this is the law. We have to follow the law. And we can't, just sort of a little more outspoken. What are the role of these Title IX coordinators in your experience, and not just in this area, but all over? Because they tend to be, in my opinion, my work, they tend to be like the priestesses of this stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think you could say that about anything, whether it's a curriculum coordinator or a Title IX coordinator. Anytime you have blah, blah coordinator, they're going to be these woke white women. They're dumb as hell. Yeah. So I don't even have to ask you or no. I know exactly what she looks like, what she sounds like, how she talks. And so they're all missionaries. They all think that they know better. They all think that your children are their mission, that they're supposed to be pushing this towards a left-wing ideology. So when you're a coordinator in a rural area, when you bring these people in, you're bringing a fox to the hen house. because these people, obviously, she can't be as mouthy as, let's say, if she was in, California or New York or New Jersey or whatever, but she's a quiet poison pill. And she looks at, so this curriculum coordinator, the school counselors, the Title IX coordinator, the school counselors, they look at everybody there, all the families there, with disdain. They hate their way of life. They hate that they're all white. They hate that they're probably mostly Christian. They hate the fact that they love America. But they can't be too mouthy because they don't have the culture in that community, that enclave doesn't support that. And so anytime they can start just talking about, oh, I don't know, we have to do this and we have to do that, and oh, it's just about making kids feel safe. Do we want kids to feel safe? They can start moving people towards that. And as soon as they get a boy who believes he's a girl, then they need one. They just need one to start going, well, it's discriminatory. Well, he might kill himself. And then the emotional blackmail starts. And so they don't need a lot. They just need the one. And that's how they're trained.
So what can parents do? What is your advice?
Well, the first thing is you have to lock up your empathy. Because there's only one, they're going to make it that the whole community came out against this boy, and they're going to tell the little kids in school and through the mental health and through social emotional learning, he's one kid. You're picking on him. It's bullying. And they're going to get all the kids to go, he's not really hurting anybody. I guess he can use the girls' bathroom. And that's how it starts. Yeah. So what parents can do is there's two things that parents can do. Okay. The first thing, the most important thing is your mental and emotional guard. You have to lock up your empathy, because if not, they will use it against you. And especially in areas like that, that's a high trust area. Farmers, just salt of the earth people, they'll give your last bottle of water to you in an emergency. Those type of people are the greatest people to live next to, but they have almost no defense. They have no antibodies to fight against emotional blackmail. Just because they are so kind, because they are such good people. So their immune system has no memory of fighting these kind of things. And so when someone comes with a sad story about a boy and a bullying and feeling belonging and he's going to kill himself, these people are largely very defenseless. And it's very hard to lock up your empathy, because that boy is a victim, but the people pulling the strings are not.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing. And I don't have a shortcut around that. You have to understand that they're simply manipulating your empathy.
I think you have to picture the 300 girls that have they're told to go to a single stall bathroom in the nurse's office. We have those emails that they are displaced because of this one boy. You have to picture, what about the girls?
Mm-hmm. You got to shift your empathy to the girls. And this is Marxism training. It's Marxism training, because you're training kids and the community that the collective needs to change for that one individual. That's what they always do. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is that parents, because you do have the majority, the board, and all that kind of stuff, this is going to sound really cruel, but it's not. And this is the only way to protect your community. You got to go to the parents and say, listen, this is your problem. This is your problem. If you believe that if their boy believes he's a girl, then get him some help. But that is not going to be tolerated in our school, in our community. And if that's not something you like, then you take him home and you homeschool. Because if you can't do that, if you let one, I promise you, in a year when you and I talk, that community is going to look different. They're going to have 5, and they're going to have them in sports, and they're going to have them in locker rooms. It's going
to happen in elementary school. They're going to start to bring in, because of all the intolerance that they're seeing.
Yep.
What's going to be next? The Wisconsin DPI will say, oh, look at those intolerant bigots.
Yep.
Guess who needs what's going to happen to the kids in elementary school who the parents are like, well, my kids aren't in high school, so they're okay. They're okay. Right. What kind of training are they going to start to give the teachers?
Yep.
and then pass down to the kids.
That's right. They're going to say, because they still do surveys, even that school does surveys because they have to, because they take the grant money. They're going to say, this school is really oppressive. This school is really racist. And we need, we're going to bring in a vendor. We're going to bring in a vendor for professional development to help you be more inclusive. And next thing you know, you're going to have kids marching with the flag and the trans flag. And what happens to that community, because it's such a small enclave, is those kids are now going to take it outside to your community. So that hardware store all of a sudden has a trans flag on it. And you're like, this hardware store has been around for 60 years, or that coffee shop or that bar that just, the salt of the earth people go to. All of a sudden, what's that?
The libraries.
The libraries. Oh, for sure. Libraries. All of a sudden, you're going to look up at your, favorite bar, and you're going to have this like weird looking androgynous young person that's tending bar. And you go, what happened? Well, what happened was 3 years ago, you allowed that one boy to use the girls' bathroom because, we don't want to be bullies. Yes. That's what happened. So in 4 years, when that community starts looking like closer to San Francisco, even though I'm obviously exaggerating, it's not going to happen in 3-4 years like San Francisco, but I'm just saying you're going to start seeing these types of kids and young people around your community, and your community in 3 or 4 years will not be recognizable. And everyone's going to go, what happened? And I'm going to say in 2026, you allowed that one boy, and that one boy allowed all this stuff to come in and indoctrinated all your children. Yep. And then they graduated and brought it into your community. So every time you feel bad about saying, I don't want to ice this kid out and their family out. What if he doesn't kill himself? Every time someone tells you that, you have to go, listen, we don't want anyone to kill themselves. I don't want anyone to kill themselves, even the people that we despise. Okay. I don't think anyone should kill themselves.
I don't celebrate anyone's
nobody.
Harm. This isn't about hate. This is about protecting our children and our way of life.
And I don't even say the word hate. I don't even say it's not about hate, because that second you say that, it almost validates them. I will say, look, every time, their kid's going to kill themselves. I don't say anything about hate. I say, look, nobody should kill themselves. But if a person, a child or an adult does that, that is an individual family problem. It's got nothing to do with us. It's got nothing to do with my daughter. It's got nothing to do with your daughter, your sister, your mother, your aunt. It's got nothing to do with that. If you truly believe, and I want everyone to listen to this in Wisconsin, in that area, word for word. If you believe your child's going to kill themselves, you better take them out of school and get them some help. God bless you. I wish you and your family the best. I hope he comes out of it and understands he is a perfect boy, exactly the way God made him. But if you truly believe he's going to kill himself, for God's sakes, please get him some help right now today. And he shouldn't be in schools. He should be getting some help while doing his education at home. But it's got nothing to do with my daughter.
And
that's it. That's it.
A warning, because you had to move. You were in a very woke area. So you're talking about this from experience. The parents from Washington State, the parents from Colorado, the parents from California, they're if you could talk to them, and I'm talking to not just the New Richmond parents, but if you are any area that you're in where you think this is not going to happen, or maybe the first incident has happened, if you could talk to them, and I have, they would say it started with one incident and we let it go. Mm-hmm. And we thought we wanted to be nice. We wanted to be kind. We wanted to be inclusive. Uh-huh. We didn't want to make waves. Uh-huh. And then what happens? So they wish they would have made waves after that very first incident.
The transgender child mutilation advocates will always say this: what's the big deal? Mind your own business. And here's the word. Here's the trigger word. I want everyone to understand the word just. It's just pronouns. Yes. It's just a sticker. It's just an equity statement. It's just words. It's just a piece of fabric when they talk about breast binding. It's always just until the child mutilate themselves, and then it's good, it's happening. So when you hear the word just, it's just one boy. He's just harmless. He's not this. He is just about being belonging. It's just about anti-bullying. Every time you hear that, you're being gaslit. You're being lied to. So make a big deal out of the littlest things, because if you don't, these people will take the littlest things and completely change your community. And once your communities change, and I speak from experience, just like a lot of people, you're never gonna, you can't roll it back. This is a one-way street. Once they change your community to this left-wing, anti-white, anti-America, transgender, gender focus, you never really roll it back. You really can't. I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
It will change your community forever. I don't care if you're a rural community. I don't care if you've been a farming community for 100 years. When they come and change it, they will change it forever. And that's the goal of the K through 12 education. So I certainly am very looking forward to seeing everybody and talking to everybody and all that. So no, I'm really excited.
Well, I think you continue to look in, because we really look forward to hearing your insight. I've already learned a lot, and that I can use. So please, like, this, you've blown me away. I've been taking notes. So this is really helpful, Alvin. And so thank you for coming on. And I'm going to talk a little bit more after you leave and show everyone your website.
Thank you.
Because it's really important that they see this.
So much.
But we'll talk some more tomorrow. Maybe we can record something in person. So I can't wait to see you. Have
Absolutely.
a safe flight.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. All right.
Bye.
Later. Bye.
That was a great interview with Alvin. I can't wait to see him tomorrow. Alvin said outrage must become action. And that's really sticking with me, because it explains exactly what we're seeing in New Richmond and everywhere else. Outrage without an outlet leads to hopelessness. Parents can get angry, they know something is wrong, but if they don't know what to do, that anger turns into resignation and basically silence, and they check out. That can't happen. We were talking about New Richmond, Wisconsin. The parents, when they learned that the 300 teenage girls were being told that the solution to a boy who recently decided he wanted to be a girl, grew out his hair, and felt pretty, that the solution for his dilemma was to put him in the girls' bathrooms while all the other girls should line up for a single stall bathroom. They should miss class, they should be tardy, and they should quietly accept that their education and their well-being comes second. That's not compassion, that's compliance, and it's wrong. Alvin said something else. He said the parents need to hear this and to listen, that you cannot allow the school district to weaponize your empathy, or anyone else. He said, shut down your empathy when it's being weaponized against your kids. Empathy is being used as a bludgeon, he said, to silence girls, to shame parents, and to keep families from resisting. That doesn't mean that you can't be compassionate. You can still be compassionate and say no. You can be compassionate you don't have to be a bully. You have to have boundaries. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're kindness. Boundaries are good. Boundaries with kids are good. Boundaries with adults are better. Protecting your child is not something that you should feel guilty about. And the parents of girls and boys in the school district, they can't stand for this. Parents are not powerless. If you're listening to this, and this sounds familiar in your district, here's your outlet. First of all, if you're not already, join Moms for Liberty. Go to Courage is a Habit, courageisahabit.com. A lot of resources for you there as well. Contact your school board members. Contact them in writing, email them, set up meetings with them. Be calm, be joyful warriors, be firm, be clear. If you're not getting the response that you want from school board members, at some point consider running for school board or helping out a campaign. In New Richmond, there is a Moms for Liberty endorsed candidate. Her name is Christy Westland. And so wherever you are, you can find her I'll try and find some information about her to post. I know her Facebook site, her website, and help her out if you live in that area. And if you don't, help her out any way that you can, even if you live somewhere else. When parents show up consistently, then these terrible policies don't survive. Alvin said this is the opening salvo in a war that parents will lose if they don't fight back, and fight back right now. It starts with this one boy in the bathroom. How many times have I heard that? Many, in states that are now as woke and insane as Colorado, Washington, California, there's Oregon. So it didn't just happen overnight. It started with one thing that parents overlooked, one thing that the community said, well, I want to be nice. I don't want to rock the boat. They let it slide. Before you know it, you can't recognize your school district or your community anymore. So fight for what you love. Fight for who you love. Remember who is paying the price right now, and it's the girls. If you have empathy to spare, put it towards those girls. That's what's important. They are going to be forced to stand in line, miss instruction. They're being told that their education is secondary to adult fear. That's unacceptable. Now, everyone needs to stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of developments about this story and so many others across the country, but in particular in the small rural town of New Richmond, Wisconsin, which could be any town USA. There's going to be some big things happening. And I hope it's a shining example of what a community does when they resist this woke, I don't know, I guess you could say this woke Goliath. No one's ever rooting for Goliath. And sometimes David wins. And in this case, I really think that David is going to win. Parents can make a change. And I know this because I'm living proof of it. Now, I'd be remiss to end this without bringing up Courage is a Habit right here. And look at this, all of these tools that you can use. So I really suggest that you go to courageisahabit.org and look at all that is available to you as a parent. Share this with school board members. Share this with teachers. This one thing we didn't have the time, but I wanted to encourage teachers, whether they are in New Richmond, Wisconsin, or anywhere USA, if this is happening and you don't like it, it's not partisan. This isn't partisan. You could be a feminist who fought so hard for Title IX all of your adult life, and you don't like what it's turned into. Say something, stand up, have courage. We need teachers to stand up, help to expose what's going on so that parents can have that transparency. You know, like we discussed, there wasn't a policy. They just did it. They just put that boy in the bathroom and said, we're following federal and state law, which is not true. They say they don't have a choice. That's not true. They absolutely have a choice. Now, there's some case law in Wisconsin that isn't the greatest, but it certainly doesn't prohibit the school from mandating that bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing areas are sex separated, and that is a zero tolerance, that there will not be a biological boy in a boy's bathroom or a biological girl in a girl's bathroom or locker room or changing area. They absolutely have the authority to do this, and the federal government under the Trump administration has issued several executive orders to that fact, and there are 10-day notices going out all the time from the Department of Justice and the Department of Education. So they're risking the loss of federal funds. Oftentimes they claim they don't care. Well, does the community care? I bet they care. So thank you very much for tuning in. And courage is contagious, and courage is a habit. It's a habit, it's a muscle. You need to flex it, and you need to find it, and you need to pass it on to your kids, especially our girls. There is a woke mind virus that has spread through many of our academic institutions, and unfortunately, young American women have just been hardest hit, and they've had their empathy weaponized. So we as parents, we need to fight for them. We need to strengthen their resolve. We need to do our part in developing their resiliency, and we need to fight, fight, fight. Have a good night, everyone.
Dear Nike.
Dear Nike.
Dear Nike. Why won't you stand up for me?
Why won't you stand up for me? Why won't you?
Why do you claim to support women and girls? Yet when we need you most, you remain silent.
Today, males are claiming our identity.
Our sports,
Our spaces.
men and boys are stealing opportunities, medals, trophies, and our future.
And it's not fair or just.
In fact, it's often dangerous. Yet you refuse to use your platform to stand up.
You say you're for social justice and progress.
So why do you allow men's rights to come before ours? See, with a big platform
Comes an even bigger responsibility.
you have a chance to do the right thing, not just do the easy thing.
So we're asking you, Nike.
So we're asking you, Nike,
So we're asking you, Nike.
as the biggest voice in all of sports,
Will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me?
will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me? Will you?
Will you?
Will you just do it?